going to be the login page. So you type in your username and password and you click login. You'll come to the opening menu. These are the different sections of the system. Some of them, for convenience, are also repeated along the top menu here. Also over to the left, you'll notice that this says test. That's because I am on a test server. If I were on the live server, this would be green and it would say the word live. So through the course of the trial, we might be adding new features or making changes to the system, and you'll be expected to go onto the test server and review them. But you should always be aware of whether you're on the test server or whether you're on the live server. And this is a quick little cue for you to know if you, for some reason, get confused. Next to that, it's telling you the study, meta, and the site. In this case is the Amano Hospital. I also have this warning up here for you just to remind you that you also are on a test system. This is not for production, and this will show up on every page. On the live system, this yellow warning would not be there. If we look across the top here, if you want to look at your user profile, this is where it'll be. This will also be your username. So when you're logged in, your name should be there. You shouldn't be using the system if you're logged in as somebody else. You should only ever be logged in as yourself. This button here is to log out. So if you are done collecting information, you should click log out. Or if you want to take over from somebody else, you should log them out and then you log in yourself. This button here just takes you to some administrative pages, which we'll look at later. This is your home button, which you are currently at. This is home. This is a data management section, adverse event section, something called subject review, which are some quick links to the different time points for each subject. This is the list of subjects and list of screening participants or potential participants. So the most common menu items on here will always be home, screening, and subjects. Some of those are repeated here, as you can see: screening and subject review, adverse event specimens, action items, we'll talk about those later, and so on. And here you can also log out, just like you can log out here. So if I click on screening, this will always be the first place you start when you're checking the eligibility of a potential subject, and you would just start with this first part of the screening form here. You can search for people that you're currently screening here based on their screening identifier or possibly their initials or something like that. And I think that it's ordered in the most recent data will be on top. The subjects list looks exactly the same, except for obviously there is no screening button here. And again, you can put in some search criteria to try to find somebody once this list starts to build up. Then the next important thing will be the subject's dashboard. So the first view of a subject's dashboard is their visit schedule. Now in this trial we have a 12-month schedule, so here they are already, the appointments for this participant are already laid out for you. Here you have that participant's subject identifier, their date of birth, their age in years, their hospital identifier, their initials, and if you hover over this little star here, you'll actually see their name. There are notifications that will appear here in red, and things like adverse events mostly, and other forms that are required to be filled in based on some condition that has occurred for a participant. And you just click on those and it'll give you a link to fill in the form along with a little bit of information about it. This section here is PRN forms, so these are forms that are not scheduled, but you could add them if you needed to fill in one of them. So obviously things like a death form, adverse event, and an unwinding request are obvious candidates for PRN forms. And here's a link to get back to the subject's consent. Notice here these little icons are telling you that these visits are all new, but this one here is currently in progress and is also reiterated here in progress, which one is actually the current appointment. So here you would fill in or modify the appointment. This in progress or new is actually coming from the appointment form. Once you're ready to start collecting data for a participant, you can fill in their visit report. That means they're here now. And once you've filled in the visit report, then you can navigate to the CRFs and requisitions, which is the second view of the subject's dashboard. So I'm going to click that now. And here you have a view of the subject's dashboard. The CRFs are listed first, and the requisitions come second. This sidebar is still the same: subject's identifier, date of birth, age and years, hospital identifier, initials, name, any notifications that have come up that need your attention. Some PRN forms. You can see now that there are a few more available. There are no PRN CRFs. Those ones are what you saw before. And here are some PRN requisitions. For example, if you decided to do a venous blood draw instead of the initially required point of care. And if you want to get back then to the list of subjects, you can just click at the top here. That'll take you back. Or if you click on dashboard, you can click this button and it'll take you back. And if you actually went from the schedule of visits to the CRFs and requisitions, you can still do the same. It'll take you back to this list of subjects. It's been filtered here for this particular subject. You can clear that so you can see everybody. And notice that things in blue are usually about navigation, and things in orange are about data that you need to supply, and things in green are showing data that you've already supplied. So you've already put in the subject consent. In this case, we've already filled in these 3 requisitions, but now we need to fill in everything that's orange has to be completed. So it's an easy way to see what you need to do. And when everything's green, then you've finished the time point. So I can go back to the schedule from here. You can see you can bounce around in different ways to get to the same screens. And back home. And that's just a real quick overview of how to navigate through the EDC.